everyone. This semester, we're going to be really learning how to do active and critical reading of literary texts. We're going to start the semester with an example of the different levels of reading using a short story called Story of an Hour. So we'll have a short series of videos that'll take you through the different levels of reading, starting with this one, which is how to read a story. These strategies, though, can be applied to poetry or drama. So let's get started. So the step one of reading any literary text is simply to read the text. You want to read slowly and carefully, either with a pen or highlighter in hand. If you're reading an electronic text, usually those applications have ways to mark up the text or highlight so that you can make notes. If that application doesn't, make sure that you're taking notes on another piece of paper. You want to mark anything that strikes you as interesting. If there are any words or descriptions that stand out, words that you don't understand, or phrases that seem kind of like a weird way to describe something, language that's beautiful, any of that. Any sort of repetition, make note of, whether it's repetition of wording, of imagery, of themes, anything that repeats in a story, poem, or drama is usually important. And then finally, make sure that you make a note of any actions or details that confuse you. The things that you don't understand are often where we can start kind of getting into analysis and interpretation. Our first read through is for the formal features. In the case of fiction, that would mean plot, setting, character, and point of view or narration. And we're just trying to get a sense of what is this text about? Can I summarize it? Our next step is to reread the text for analysis. So all of the stories, poems, and drama in this class really should be read more than once. You want to kind of give yourself time to read things through at least twice, because the first time through is really just the equivalent of reading for pleasure. You're enjoying the experience of the story, you're not sure where it's going yet, and you're just kind of reading for completion. During that first reading, pay attention to your own reactions. Anytime you are interested or confused is probably something that you could analyze further. The second reading of the text is really for analysis. It's where we kind of drill down and figure out, how is this text built? Why might the author have made the choices he or she made? And more importantly, whatever the reason for those choices, what effect do the choices have on the story, on you as the reader? When you reread for analysis, you're really trying to figure out how the parts of the text fit into the whole. So again, for a story, we're looking at those formal elements like plot, setting, character, point of view, and now maybe we're also layering in the stylistic elements, imagery, symbolism, figurative language. By looking through more carefully for those parts, we can start to see how the text works as a system. Our third step is to interpret the text. So your goal in reading literature for this class is to create an interpretation, which means that you're making an argument for how the story, poem, or drama creates meaning. And remember, meaning isn't just a general subject or descriptive theme. Meaning is an argument about the theme. So that means interpretation is an argument, where you make a claim about one or more of the themes in the text, you provide reasons for why your reading is correct, you bring in evidence from the text to support that reading, and you always have counter arguments that you've acknowledged. So places where maybe your reading of the text, your argument about the theme, doesn't quite work because of this one item, and then providing a refutation for that counter argument. So the same important parts of argument are essential to doing a literary interpretation. So as we move on, if you haven't already, take a few moments to read or reread the Story of an Hour. Be sure you've annotated the story. On your rereading, make sure you're making those notes about formal and stylistic aspects that you notice. And then the next video that we have is going to go through analysis in more detail. We'll talk about the different aspects of the story specifically that you should be paying attention to.